Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Sina. So today we are going to discuss about the SQL Server security, and then we are going to relate it to the GDPR, which I'm sure that plenty of you should be familiar with that. So I'm a former penetration tester. I think that most of the backgrounds are developers in here, right? Anyone from security here? By any chance? Or any experience of penetration testing? The penetration word is a bit tricky. Don't take it in a negative way, take it in a techie way. So penetration meaning that I'm going to penetrate into your systems. I mean, web application, networks, or mobile application. So I'm a former penetration tester. I have reported a lot of vulnerabilities from Malaysian government agencies, banks, those airlines, which is red color, I don't name it. Then the place that you go a lot for a movie in Pavilion, that cinema TV theater, I'm not naming at all for the client's privacy issue to not violate my contract. So I have reported a lot of government agencies that you could easily dump the whole database. You could walk through the database using the SQL injection. Any of you familiar with SQL injection? Yes. What's happened? Why I could penetrate in that website and get the SQL injection? Any reason behind the scene?
Because they use the string concatenate. Yes.
Okay. What else?
And they can inject those SQL query inside.
So what else? Web developer here? Okay. May I know the rest of you in which area you are active?
Windows application.
Windows. Okay. You?
Student.
Oh, student.
Student can write codes as well, right? I'm also a student.
Just some web stuff, web application.
Okay, next one.
No.
I'm beginner.
Beginner.
Very
Are you
Yeah.
his brother?
Yes.
Yeah, I can say that. They're very similar. Okay, the rest? Yes? SQL Server. Rest? DBA. Developer. Alright, next one?
Window application.
Okay. Are you sleepy?
No.
Alright, so we will discuss about that. It's not only that string connection that you mentioned about it. There are number of other reasons that, meaning that they had other controls that they're supposed to put it in place, but they never put it there, so that's why the failure happened. So let's skip introducing myself. We're going to talk about I'm going to start with the SQL Server evolution, which I'm sure that Hamid is pretty familiar with that, and he can stop me anytime, but don't do that.
Okay.
Then I'm going to highlight the people process technology. That again, a lot of security issues comes from this part. And then let's begin. So if we want to go back old time, 2000, I think that's the time that somehow I started playing around with computers. So database still was not that active that we are using at that time. So on those times it was very, very on the beginning stage, although it was there before. So the evolution started with the XML, the management studio came, then they started putting monitoring system to see how the performance goes and monitor the database activities, the users. Then in 2008 and 2008 R2, they started bringing the concept of the policy-based management, compression, power pivoting, SharePoint. So a lot of technologies came day by day. Then you might come, you may ask me this question, hey, you're a security guy, what the hell are you doing in this SQLSturday? Because SQLSturday, mostly you see security, SQL people, developers, those are high-tech, geeky people, which are very into the SQL and .NET program. What are you doing in here? So as a former penetration tester guy that I have penetrated in a lot of systems, I can say that a lot of problems that raise is because of you guys. Seriously. So the reason is that I'm going to point it in here, few of them. But the reason that I came here is not only a lot of the reason comes from you, I mean the database administrators, but DB developers or software developers, either Windows or web. So the reason that I came here is because in 2016 and 17, I saw some security features that I was really interested into that, because at the same time I'm doing research on the GDPR. So this made me very interested to see that, okay, how can I connect the database to the GDPR concept? So the GDPR will be, in other countries, in European countries, it is already a trend, but still it hasn't started in Malaysia, or better say in Asia Pacific area. So these two reasons made me to connect me for this presentation and come over here. In 2016 and 2017, I merged these two together because they have very similarity. So I merged the 2016 and 17 together. Besides all of those techie things that I have put it there, I don't know what's that. What is the reason they want to put the Python and all of those things? So there one point in here which is very interesting. Finally, Microsoft decided that you start using or integrating with the Linux operating system. So you can see that Red Hat is there, Ubuntu is there, Docker is there, SUSE is there. So meaning that nowadays SQL Server used to run based on the Windows platform, used to run on top of the Windows kernel. So now they have their own kernel somehow. Even going back in old times, we had the OS for the SQL itself internal in the kernel, but they made it more advanced, so now you can run it on the Unix or Linux operating system as well. But focus on the security, always encrypted, one of the features that recently being added. Group managed services, it was there since 2012, but become more advanced. The password rotation, dynamic data masking, row-level security, and all of those features made me easier to connect that to the GDPR. So back and forth, I'm going to mention about the GDPR because the whole session of today will be about the GDPR. Anyone familiar with GDPR? Not at all? Okay, we will reach to that. Be patient. Okay. So there's always a debate between Microsoft people, Microsoft fan, then Linux fan, or let's put it in very layman terms, there's always a debate between Apple users and Android users. Apple users always say that Apple is the best, it's the most secure phone, and it's the most secure operating system. Android is not, Windows is not. But I can say that based on my experience, I can say that if you want to both of the Android phone and iOS phone, Apple, if you want to open up the cage and bring that animal from the cage out, and you want to test it, Android and OS at the same time, iOS has more vulnerability in the same situation before you want to jailbreak either of them. So the same debate, we can go through that to the Oracle DB, to MySQL, to SQL Server. But I can say that, at least based on the statistic, I can say that SQL Server, in the past few years, so like a decade, SQL Server was the most secure database. And comparing the vulnerabilities. So I'm working as a senior manager in a bank. So over there, I'm doing the threat advisory. So I can say that every month, I'm reporting a lot of cybersecurity threats, a lot of vulnerabilities for the Oracle database, for MySQL. Very, very seldom I see vulnerabilities from SQL Server. I don't say that SQL Server is the best, but when in a comparison, you can see that less vulnerability is going out of the SQL Server in the past few years. So then you may ask me that, then why we get attacked? It's because, sorry, the DBA in here, he didn't configure his SQL Server properly. No, just I'm using you as a case, you know. So not even this case. So he didn't configure it properly. He set up the database for the government of this country that I'm living, not here. So, and during my testing assessment, I find out that there's SQL Server over there, the latest version. So you don't say that, oh, because it was old and it doesn't get in patch and all of those things. With the SA username. What does SA mean?
System administrator.
System administrator. What is the password?
It's blank.
It's blank, right? So, I mean, you don't need to be smart, because there are always people say that, okay, hackers are they're very smart. Hackers are very genius. No, it's not hackers that are very smart. They are, but it's the stupid mistakes that those developers or DBAs, not you, they're making
You
that
guys
mistakes.
also.
not even you guys. So it was a huge database. When I tried to download that, it took me a long time, and that database was about 100 gigabytes. Government, okay? By the end of the day, yes, they had firewall, yes, they had IDS, they had IPS, they have all the security controls that you want. All of those fancy, expensive things that many of them, even the bank may not be able to afford that, but the database username was SA and the password was the blank. So it's not a security breach, it's your mistake that you never follow the very basic guidelines. Okay, so going back to here, you can see that that's the reason that's not because of the SA, but based on the statistic, SQL Server was the most secure in the past decade. So I'm always putting the point finger to the operational team, like developers, DBAs, or system designers. Yes, majority of the vulnerabilities. SQL Server itself, it doesn't have a vulnerability. Windows Server itself, it doesn't have a vulnerability. It's the people that make it vulnerable. You know what I mean? So if you park your car out in your house and never take it out for a ride, you never get accidents. So the people that's running this SQL Server or these application on top of it, they never harden that, they never follow the best practice. Why? A skill gap. A lot of them, they don't know how to do that. The skill gap is the first issue. And if you look around, you can see that a lot of people, the SA might be very, very basic, but there are very few people like Hamid or like you in here that they invest their time, even on the weekend, to go and learn it. They say that my work is 9 to 5, why should I spend more time? So the skill gap is the first thing. Another thing is that who is developing the application? Software developer. Who is the designer of the database? DBAs, right? Who is going to check if the software application team developed the application securely? No one. How many of those database administrators have enough knowledge of the security? Very few. Okay? And by the end of the day, let's say that we all are a software company. The first thing as a business owner I ask you is, when are you going to launch the application? Then, what's your name?
Azim.
Then Azim says that, sir, but the application is not ready. I don't care, just launch it. He says that, Sina, the database is not hardened yet. I don't care. I want to run it as soon as possible. Why? As a business owner, I care about functionality and my production. By the end of the day, I can make money. Right? So after the problem of the DevOps and the DBAs that they don't have enough security knowledge is that we put the priority for the production, for the functionality, but we don't put it for security. So the standard defined process is what? First, the application team develop the application, then they need to launch it, right? In middle, the security team. So let's say in bank, we say that before you want to launch your system and go live, as a security team, you need to check your system, and then if there is no vulnerability, then you can go live. So if we find vulnerability, first fix it, then go live. Okay? So here's the point. Why should we reach to the, and you know that when the business owners see that the baby is ready to run the application or the product, he doesn't want to wait because he's, oh my, the money is coming. Okay? So why not putting the security in the beginning? While you're designing your entire system, while you start writing the code, put the security at first, not at the end. Okay? You are not going to build your house and then look at the house and say that, okay, now how can I secure it? Now putting the pillar, no, there is no way for that. You already built the house. And doesn't worse of it to rebuild it from the scratch. Okay? So that's why the problem is that mostly we put the priority on the production and function, and we put the security as a lower priority. The second issue is the process. So when I say that first develop the application, then they go for security, that's a process issue. Another point is that you know that developers, they always promise to 2 weeks to write their module. By the end of the day, when they go after 3 months, they haven't finished it yet, and so, oh, we still need to work on it, and we still, they are working on end by late night, and still they're not ready. So that's why they don't have time to put the security over there as well. I mean, the product is ready to go out, and then they say, oh, I haven't put, there are a lot of those connection strings that they are there, they haven't changed that, okay? There are a lot of junior guys that are writing the codes. There is no one to monitor them. There is no secure code reviewing. There is no secure code practicing over there. So these process brings the security vulnerabilities in our environment. And then technologies. We always say that when there is a new technology, there is a new vulnerability. So AWS came with the fancy cloud storage and operating systems and all of those service providers. And Amazon is safe. Amazon is 100% secure. Then you see another day, because they're advertising a lot. So, okay, I don't need to worry about the DBA. I don't need to have a DBA to configure that. Amazon have their own experts. I don't need to run the operating system myself. Amazon will do that. So we start relying on the Amazon. Then we start hearing that the United States Navy, Army, their data leaked, right? So and you know that when there is one vulnerability, if I can find one vulnerability in one system, all of other systems that using the same platform, you suddenly start hearing news that another government agency, another bank, another this place or that place got attacked with the same vulnerability. Why? Because I launched that's, for example, a write-up. We call it write-up. When we find a vulnerability and we publish it, we call it write-up. When I published a write-up that there is a new vulnerability, for example, in Amazon, because of this part, so all of those guys like me that are looking for a security vulnerability day to day, they start going to launch the same method of the attack in other area. So how many of you are familiar with WannaCry? Happened in March, right? So, happened in June. But the patches was launched in March, 2 months after that. Meaning that the vulnerability, Microsoft announced the vulnerability, launched the list of the patches on the security bulletin in March, 13th of the March, then the second Tuesday of the month. Okay, so after 2 months, we start hearing that hospitals in UK, hospital in Singapore, a lot of Toyota or Hyundai, one of the car companies in Europe, and a lot of other agencies and government agencies of banking industry, they got compromised because of the WannaCry. Although the patch was issued 2 months ago. So the new technology comes, the new vulnerability bring as well. So before, when I came today, we were discussing about the same situation about the Intel. Have you heard about the Intel vulnerability?
Yes.
So the risk was so high I can say that all the machines that we have already in here, they are vulnerable for that. So then Hani told me that, have you patched that? I said, no. How can I patch it in one day? We have 20,000 servers, we have 50,000 endpoint machine, and we cannot just click and roll the patch because there are a lot of dependency on that. So these are the problems that come in here. So let's say, if I want to mention some of the problems that we can see in the SQL Server in old version was the cache authentication, meaning that if you log in, so your login would be cache over there. So even when you log out and you log in again, the cache is there. So I could compromise the machine with the cache. So the poor privilege management comes from the DBAs. Sorry, that DBA behind it. So the poor privilege management, because when they're creating the user, they don't care that, okay, this user, why he need to have access to the backup, why he need to have access, for example, in creating user procedure, why he need to access to create a table. So he's a user and he only wants to check the website, for example, for certain information. There is no back and forth. I mean, he just wants to view, right? So there is no update permission, there is no insert permission required for this user. But when we are creating a user, we are giving the whole access. How many of you on your laptop you are using your user is an administrator user?
Local admin.
Local admin. What's the problem with that?
Local admin.
Okay.
I mean, can access and change any kind of configuration.
This is your laptop, why not?
But if the corporate,
Even on the corporate, this is your own.
that one I don't know. Can you explain?
Okay. Why we should not have local admin?
I don't know.
Even on your own computer, you should not use the local admin. Why? Because let's say if I want to trigger my exploit over there, if I want to trigger my payload on your machine, okay, no matter it's a corporate laptop or it's a personal laptop, I need to make some changes on your kernel, on your registry, on your Windows operating system, okay, to get higher level of permission, okay? So for me as a penetration tester, the first step is that to get a remote connection to the system. The second step, which is very, very difficult, is to split my user level from a normal user level to the administrator level. I need to find out, okay, what version is that, then I find a method to a specific exploit to allow me to escalate my privilege from the normal user to the admin user, okay? But you already, when I connect to your machine, I already have the NT user, I already have the administrator. So meaning that, so when we are talking about security, we are not making things impossible. We are making things more difficult. So if there is a safe in the bank, doesn't mean that that safe cannot be open. It can. All the safes can be open. It's just the complexity is different. Some of the safe or some of the locks, let's say the password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of them has a longer password. Okay, so when you are having a local admin on your even on your personal laptop, meaning that you're making my life easier to compromise your machine. But now imagine that, forget about the local admin on the personal laptop, let's assume that you're a network administrator, you're a Windows or SQL Server administrator. Yes, on a daily basis you need to log in to do your administrator job. But are you 24/7 doing administrator job? No, not always. Whenever, the best practice is that disable the local admin for all the users, all, even the CEO, okay? Okay, whenever he wants to install the application, that's another reason that I'm mentioning. Whenever he wants to install the application, call the IT guy, they come there to install it. But disable the local admin. And for the administrator, whenever he wants to do the local admin, do your job, then log out. Do we have any administrator in here? Any
Mostly
DBA?
DBA.
Any DBA? Are you?
We have.
Okay, may I know what Office version do you use on your
2016.
on this? This is your, let's say this is it your laptop that you do your administrator job?
Yeah,
Okay, Office 2000.
2016.
Okay, what browser do you use?
Chrome.
Chrome. Any other DBA in here? Okay, and may I know? Can I see your Facebook number?
Facebook.
Yeah.
Why?
Just a question.